الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأصلي وأسلم على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا نبينا محمد النبي الأمين وعلى آله وأصحابه الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم اجعل تجمعنا هذا تجمعا مرحوما وتفرقنا من بعده تفرقا معصوما ولا تجعل فيما معنا ولا غائبا عنا شقيا ولا محروما. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار. اللهم آت نفوسنا تقواها وزكها أنت خير من زكاها أنت وليها ومولاها. Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah khair for coming and attending the series of the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And as I always say, it is very important, it is crucial, and it is really important for us to study the seerah of the companions as we study the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Before I start, I promised somebody something last time. And definitely today I want to fulfill my promise. So we have young brother Ammar with us here, whom you heard his adhan last Tuesday, mashallah. So he's going to come, inshallah, and recite a few verses from Surah Al-Mu'minun. You want to grab a chair or I'll give you a chair? Huh? Ammar. Okay. Yeah. Huh? Sit down. Open it for you. You got it? After the Hajj. Sure? Is that good? No.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قد أفلح المؤمنون الذين هم في صلاتهم خاشعون والذين هم عن اللغو معرضون والذين هم للزكاة فاعلون والذين هم لفروجهم حافظون إلا على أزواجهم أو ما ملكت أيمانهم فإنهم غير ملومين فمن ابتغى وراء ذلك فأولئك هم العادون والذين هم لأماناتهم وعهدهم راعون والذين هم على صلواتهم يحافظون أولئك هم الوارثون الذين يرثون الفردوس هم فيها خالدون.
تكبير تكبير جزاك الله خيرا يا عمار. Didn't you love to see your children recite like that? Or your grandchildren? Of course. That's what we call, this is the results of the Islamic school. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and your family, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Qulu ameen. And he recited beautiful ayats from Surah Al-Mu'minun. You know, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks, of course, about the companions first, and of course any believers who fulfill these, kind of conditions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about. I see some faces came in the phone, said, they said, who is this person who is reciting the Quran? We want to see him. Subhanallah, subhanallah. Maybe you should have recited more. Just make it a recitation tonight, rather than just talking. As I said, that it is important, it is very important for us to study the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ and the companions radiyallahu anhum. And that's because there's a lot of issues that happened during the time of the companions that didn't happen during the time of the Prophet ﷺ. And that give us a better look at the life of the companions and learn from things that happened at their time. And we talked about Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, we talked about Umar radiallahu anhu, we talked about Uthman radiallahu anhu. And today we're going to continue talking about Ali radiallahu anhu as we are coming toward the end of his life. And but before we go toward the end of his life, definitely it's important to tell everybody and to share with everybody the way that Ali radiallahu anhu was dealing with the companions. How was he with Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu? How was he with Umar radiallahu anhu? How was he with Uthman? And I'm talking about during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, we have seen that. But he is going to talk about that, the companion is going to talk about that. And why I'm saying that, we are in a time, unfortunately, that people start talking nonsense about the companions. We are in a time that people now even, like on the YouTube, on TV, on the videos, they start talking badly about the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. And they start, cursing or talking bad or just, bringing a lot of negative things that does not have, any background or reality of it. It just, making up stories just to, deceive the people. But I want to tell you something. I want to ask you something. I want you to understand, and me too, how can a Prophet ﷺ, someone like the Prophet ﷺ, surround himself by people if these people are really bad? I mean, imagine if I tell you, all your friends are they are not good friends. Or your dad's friends, or your mom's friends, those are really bad people. Those are not good people around you. How are you going to feel about that? You're going to tell them what? You're going to tell me what? If I tell you all your friends are not good, what are you going to tell me? How do we expect to believe that those companions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have talked about them in the Quran when He said, Muhammadun Rasulullah, وَالَّذِينَ مَعَهُ أَشِدَّاءُ عَلَى الْكُفَّارِ رُحَمَاءُ بَيْنَهُم. They are hard upon the unbelievers, they are merciful upon one another. How can you say something bad about these companions? How can you say something about those who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, لَقَدْ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ إِذْ يُبَايِعُونَكَ تَحْتَ الشَّجَرَةِ? Allah is satisfied with these believers who gave you covenant under the tree during Sulh al-Hudaybiyah, and we talked about that during the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. 1,400 of the companions, among them was Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu, wa Umar radiyallahu anhu, wa Uthman radiyallahu anhu, wa Ali radiyallahu anhu, wa Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, wa Abu Ubaidah Amr ibn al-Jarrah, and so on and so forth. All these companions and Muhajirin wal Ansar. How can someone say something like that? How can someone say something about Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu and a whole surah, Suratul Layl, was revealed because of him? How can we say something about Abu Bakr and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, how He said, إِلَّا تَنْصُرُوهُ فَقَدْ نَصَرَهُ اللَّهُ. If you don't give him victory, Allah have given him victory already. إِذْ أَخْرَجَهُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا ثَانِيَ اثْنَيْنِ. When the unbelievers drove them away from Mecca, when they were two, إِذْ هُمَا فِي الْغَارِ, they both were in the cave. إِذْ يَقُولُ لِصَاحِبِهِ. Allah is telling the companions, Allah is telling the world that the Prophet ﷺ is telling صَاحِبِهِ, his companion, لَا تَحْزَنْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ مَعَنَا. How can anyone imagine? How can anyone imagine someone would say something about Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu in a bad way? When the Prophet ﷺ is saying, he said, لو وضع إيمان الأمة في كفة وإيمان أبي بكر في كفة لرجح إيمان أبي بكر. Iman Abu Bakr is more than the ummah at whole without the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How can someone say something like that? How can someone say something about Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu and he married his daughter Aisha radiallahu anha? How can anyone say something about Aisha radiallahu anha in a bad way? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have told us that his wives are our mothers. Can someone imagine come and tell you, oh, your mother is so and so? What would you do to him? What would you do to him or to her? If someone come and start cursing your mother, al-Mu'mineen Aisha radiallahu anha, like Hafsa, like like Salama, like Habib, all those wives of Rasulullah, they're our mothers. And Ali radiallahu anhu used to call her Ya Ummah to Aisha radiallahu anha. And we're going to talk about that. Even in the hard time, even during the fitna time, these companions did not lose their mind. Those are the ones that Rasulullah said, خَيْرُ الْقُرُونِ قَرْنِي. The best of the generation is my generation. How can someone say something about Umar radiallahu anhu? And Rasulullah have called him, have given him the name Al-Faruq. He said, Anta al-Faruq. You are al-Faruq. You are the one that divide. You are the one that brought the truth and to show the truth from the falsehood. You are the one. How can we say that about Umar radiallahu anhu? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have agreed with him in more than 7 times in the Quran. How can we say something bad about Uthman radiallahu anhu? And Uthman was named Dun Nurayn because he married 2 of the daughters of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How can we say something about Uthman radiallahu anhu? And Uthman radiallahu anhu is the one that was the ghani, the one who's spending the money upon the Muslims and the Ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How can we say all of that? How can you imagine someone would say something about that? And today I'm going to talk briefly about the companionship between Ali radiallahu anhu and Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu and Umar and Uthman. It was mentioned it was mentioned about Ali radiallahu anhu. One time he was entering at the majlis of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where Rasulullah is sitting with the companions, and there was no space. So Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu made a space. And he said, Ta'ala fajlis huna ya Abul Hasan. Sit here on my place between me and the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. فَتَبَسَّمَ الرَّسُولُ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. He smiled at that. This is how they loved one another. In the time of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, he was Khalifa. He used to make mashura and asking the opinions of those 3. Umar wa Uthman wa Ali, and he used to tell him, Aftina ya Abul Hasan, because Abul Hasan radiallahu anhu, Ali radiallahu anhu, used to know about al-halal wal-haram. He was the faqih. He was the faqih among all the companions. He used to say, Wallahi, that I know where every surah, every ayah was revealed, in what area, it was in a valley or in a mountain, it was during the day or during the night, and who was around the Prophet ﷺ when that ayah was revealed. That's how much he knew about the Quran radiallahu anhu. In the battle of Riddah, during the time of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, Abu Bakr appointed him to be the head of the guards of Medina. No one would do something like that if he doesn't like Ali or Ali doesn't like Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. The love of Ali radiallahu anhu to Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, he was asked during his time, the time of Ali radiallahu anhu, where the fitna was already started after the death of Uthman radiallahu anhu. He was asked, Man ashda' an-nas? Who is the most brave one that you know? And they were expecting him to say, me, I. Qala Abu Bakr. They said, how are you saying that? Why are you saying Abu Bakr? He said, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, in the beginning of the time, when we were weak, before Islam flourished in Medina, was in Mecca time. And we saw the Quraysh were pushing Prophet around. And all of us were sitting, couldn't do anything. Abu Bakr came and he pushed them around and he said, أَتَقْتُلُونَ رَجُلًا أَنْ يَقُولَ رَبِّيَ اللَّهِ. Why you want to kill someone? Because he says that Allah is my Lord. And no one dared to do that but Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. And he was asked one time, Man khayrun nasi ba'da Rasulillah? Who is the most blessed person after the Prophet sallam? قال خير الناس أبو بكر الصديق. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, he said that. Abu Bakr is the one that's more blessed than anyone else. Comes after the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. During the battles of Riddah, one of the battles called the Al-Qassa, Abu Bakr wanted to go into the battle. And Ali radiallahu anhu used to hold to the rein of Abu Bakr's horse, and he told him, Ya Abu Bakr, la tafja'na bi nafsik. Do not die, Ya Abu Bakr, because you are the Khalifa now. And he said, remember, the Prophet ﷺ have told you the same thing in Uhud. La tafja'na bi nafsik. Don't do that. Let someone else at least do it. We want to keep you around. And Prophet ﷺ maybe had the vision to know that Abu Bakr is going to be the Khalifa. That's why he told him in Uhud that. And even during the time when they were fighting the Romans, and Ali radiallahu anhu told him, Ya Khalifa Rasulullah, don't worry about it. Innaka mansurun insha'Allah. You are victorious, Ya Khalifa Rasulullah. He said, if you go or you send someone else. And Abu Bakr told him, how do you know that? وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ بِذَلِكَ. وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ. How would you know? قال ألم تسمع قول رسول صلى الله عليه وسلم. Rasulullah said, قد زويت لي الأرض فرأيت أن ملك أمتي سيبلغ ما زوى الله لي منها. That the kingdom of Islam will spread vast and wide as far as the sun that rises upon, or the moon. That means what? And he told him, this is how you are victorious, Ya Khalifata Rasulullah. Yes, there was a story happened at that time, during the time when Abu Bakr radiallahu anh became the Khalifa, and there was a land that was part of the spoil that Rasulullah gained after the battle of Khaybar. So Fatima radiallahu anha came during the time of Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, and we're not denying that, no one is denying that. This is the Kitab Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah. And she asked for that land. She said, this is my land. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu told her, Ya Fatima, your father said, Al-Anbiya, nahnu ma'ashara al-Anbiya, la nuwarrith. There is no inheritance for the Anbiya. So she got upset with that and she went home. And she did not give bay'ah by herself. Now, look at the twist story. I don't know if you've heard that or not, but I want to share it with you. Okay? These people say that Abu Bakr sent an army head by Umar radiallahu anhu. And I want you just to imagine, wallahi, if you tell it to kids in the kindergarten or pre-K, they will laugh at it. Story, it's so what do you call it, emotionally, make you very emotional when you hear it. And I saw people sometimes on TV crying when they heard the story, what Umar radiallahu anhu did to Fatima. And who's Fatima? The daughter of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Abu Bakr said what? He said, go and you need to bring Fatima so she will give bay'ah. So Umar went with an army. So where is the army from? Who is in the army? Companions of the Prophet ﷺ. You think about that, right? Just think about the companions of the Prophet ﷺ going with an army to the house of Fatima. Where is Ali radiallahu anhu? He was traveling, he was on vacation, he wasn't there. And they went to the house. Now this is what they say. Again. And Umar told Fatima radiallahu anha, that's what they say, if you don't come out, I'm going to burn the house upon your head. Who's saying that? Umar radiallahu anhu is saying that. Umar al-Khalifa, Umar الذي يقول ابن عباس وابن مسعود رضي الله عنه، يقول ابن مسعود يقول ما زلنا أعزة منذ أن أسلم عمر. The one that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is telling him, he said, Ya Umar, if someone survive Yawm al-Qiyamah, maybe it will be you. In Badr, in Battle of Badr. And he said, لو كان بعدي نبي لكان عمر. Go and check the ahadith. I know some of them will laugh at these and say, oh, Umar? I said, yes, it doesn't matter what you say. This is what we believe about Umar radiallahu anhu. Al-Faruq. So he would do something like this to Fatima? That he loved her father so much that he would do that to her? Unbelievably, akhwan Allah. It's a joke. And then she came out. Now listen to this. You have to make it very dramatic. So people will cry and weep. And they said, when she came out, he kicked her in her stomach. Umar, radiallahu anhu, kicked Fatima in her stomach. You know, can you tell me something else so I can believe? Umar is kicking Fatima in her stomach. And she was pregnant with Muhsin. I don't know where that Muhsin came from. You know, it's a story. It's a very emotional story. Now going back to the reality. Now that was dream. That was the La La Land where we're in. Let's go back to the reality. The reality of the matter. Fatima went home, and of course, if you remember, she was the first to die after the death of the Prophet, so she lived only 6 months after that. 6 months. So things didn't change that much, you know. And she got sick, so Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu went to visit her. And he asked Ali, he said, Ya Ali, can I go and visit your wife? He said, let me go and take permission from her. So she said, yes, absolutely, definitely. Come and visit me. So he came and he visited Fatima radiallahu anha. In fact, Ali radiallahu anhu named one of his sons Abu Bakr. What do you call that? If someone hates Abu Bakr, why do you want to name your children? Why do you want to name your child after someone you don't like? Because that was all, you know, fabricated stories, lies about the relationship between Ali and Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. And Abu Bakr died, Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu said a long, you know, and if you review the seerah of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, I have said that during that time. And he said, Rahimakallahu ya Shaykh al-Islam. Not only that, during his time, when Umar, when Ali radiallahu anhu was the Khalifa, they asked him, they said, did the Muhajirin and the Ansar couldn't find anyone else to make, you know, to become a Khalifa and to choose Abu Bakr upon you? And Ali radiallahu anhu got very upset. He said, Wayhak, he said, woe to you. Sabaqani Abu Bakr bi arba'. Abu Bakr was ahead of me by 4 things. Number 1, Sabaqani bil iman. He was an adult when he became a Muslim. I was a child. Number 2, وَسَبَقَنِي بِإِفْشَاءِ السَّلَامِ. And he was always giving his salam to people. Number 3, he was the companion of the Prophet ﷺ in Al-Ghar, in Ghar Thawr. And the Prophet ﷺ told him to lead the prayer when he was sick. He never told anyone else. And that's an indication that he is the Khalifa after the Prophet ﷺ. So how can people say anything about the Prophet, about Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu? How about Umar radiallahu anhu? How was his relationship with Umar? See, Umar loved Ali radiallahu anhu to the point that he appointed him faqih and qadi during his time. He was a qadi during his time. And he told the people, he said, Ali radiallahu anhu was ahead of me by 3 things. Number 1, the Prophet have given him the raya and during the battle of Khaybar, and he said, I will give this raya or this flag to the one that he loves Allah and the Prophet loves him, and Allah loves him. And he gave it to Ali. And then he said also that he was ahead of me in Islam. And he married him his daughter Fatima. And number 4, he said, ألا تحب أن تكون مني بمنزلة هارون من موسى. Don't you want to be to me like Harun to Musa? ولكن لا نبي بعدي. But there is no prophet after me. Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu used to brag about Ali radiallahu anhu. He used to say, أقضانا علي. Ali is the Qadi, not me. Ali is the Qadi. Although Sayyidina Umar used to love justice. That's why his name was Al-Faruq. But he used to pray, يقول اللهم إني أعوذ بك من معضلة لا يعرفها أبا الحسن. He said, I'm seeking refuge in you for a problem that Abu al-Hasan will not find a solution for. And he was always hoping for Abu al-Hasan to find a solution for a problem. One time, a woman was pregnant and her husband was in the jihad, and he heard that some men came into her house, and he didn't like that. He said, what are these men coming to visit this woman alone in the house? So he called upon her, he said, you need to come right now and tell me why these things happened. So from the news she received, she was very scared and she had a miscarriage. So the companion said, it wasn't your fault, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. I mean, that would happen to her. Ali radiallahu anhu came, he said, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, I think you have scared her. And because of you, she had the miscarriage. So you have to pay the diya for the baby in her stomach, in her womb. You have to pay the diya for the one that that died. And he told him what? He said, ما يقول أبا الحسن شيء إلا فعله ابن الخطاب. He said, whatever Sayyidina Ali say, Abu al-Khattab will do definitely after that. No problem with that. Another time, Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu used to go at night between the houses, and he saw an act of a zina. An act of a zina. So he rushed to Ali radiallahu anhu. He said, Ya Ali, let's apply the hudud upon those two. He said, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, did you see it with your own eyes? قال نعم يا أبا الحسن, I've seen that. That's why I want to tell you that we have to apply the hudud. He said, do you have 4 witnesses? قال يا أبا الحسن, what am I going to go for witnesses to see this? He said, you don't dare say their names, and if you don't have 4 witnesses, and if you say their names, you will be whipped. Look how the judgment of Ali radiallahu anhu, and look how Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu listened to Ali radiallahu anhu. Ya Ikhwanna, subhanallah. Look at the love between each other. Look at the cooperation between one another. Not only that, but he named one of his sons Umar. One of the sons of Ali was named Umar. He named Abu Bakr, wa Umar, wa Uthman. How can you name you name your son after someone that you don't like? That's crazy. That's people just out of their minds. Anyway, one day, Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu was walking down the street and he saw someone talking about Abu Bakr and Umar in a bad way. So he went to the masjid and he stood on the member and he started calling people, Ayyuhan nas, O people, Wallahi, la yuhibbu Abu Bakr wa Umar illa mu'min. Those who love Abu Bakr and Umar are the believers. وَلَا يُبْغِضُهُمَا إِلَّا فَاجِرٌ. And those who are wicked, those who hate them. He said, Sayyida al-Masakin. They were the Sayyids of the Masakin, the poor people. وَإِمَامَا al-Huda. They are the Imams of the guidance. مَنِ اتَّبَعَ سَبِيلَ أَبِي بَكْرٍ وَعُمَرٍ هُدِيَ إِلَى صِرَاطٍ مُسْتَقِيمٍ. Whoever follow their guidance, they are on the right path. وَهُمَا وَاللَّهِ الْخُلَفَاءُ الرَّاشِدِينَ. And they are the Khulafa'u al-Rashideen. This is how much they loved one another. How about Uthman radiallahu anhu? Uthman radiallahu anhu, one time the son of Ali, his name was Muhammad, And he told him, Ya Abati, who was the best man after the Prophet ﷺ? He said, Abu Bakr. And then he said, ثُمَّ مَنْ? And who comes after him? قال Umar. So his son wanted to give him some status. He said, ثُمَّ أَنْتِ? So then you, right? قال لا يا بني بل عثمان. Uthman comes after them. And he said, what about you? قال إنما أنا رجل من المسلمين. I am just a man. Look how humble he was. Not to praise himself and say, I am so and I am so, I am this and I am that. He was humbling, himself. And if you remember during the fitna, when people came and they wanted to, impeach Uthman radiallahu anhu, and they want to elect Ali radiallahu anhu, he told them that you are mal'oonun, you've been cursed by Allah and Rasulullah. Whoever army comes to attack al-Madinah, فَهُمْ مَلْعُونُون. You are cursed, go back. لَا أَصْلَحَكُمُ اللَّهِ. May Allah not accept from you this kind of walking and doing and all of that. And even like when Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu anhu was under siege in his house, they asked him, they said, Ya Ali, you are the best among us. Why didn't you lead the prayer? He said, وَالْإِمَامُ مُحَاصَرٌ. He said, our Imam is under siege in the house. I will not do that. And he refused to pray in the masjid, and he went and he prayed in his house. To tell people that I am not the Khalifa, there is a Khalifa and the Khalifa is under siege in his house. He was asked one time, he said, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, all these people who started with Abdullah ibn Saba, la'anahullah. Abdullah ibn Saba, he became a Muslim in Yemen. And he started all this fitna. Talking about Uthman, and talking about Abu Bakr and Umar, and how they, took the Khilafah from Ali, and Ali is the one who deserved it. They talk about all of that. So they asked him one time, he said, did the Prophet ﷺ give you a wasiyah before he died? Did he say something about, his wasiyah to you before he died? And he told them, he said, لا والله ما أوصى إلينا بشيء. He did not give us any wasiyah. وَلَقَدْ كُنْتُ أَوَّلَ مَنْ صَدَّقَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ وَسَلَّمَ. And I was the first to believe in the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. فَلَا أَكُونُ أَوَّلَ مَنْ كَذَّبَ عَلَيْهِ. And I will not be the first to lie upon him. And then he said, وَلَوْ كَانَ أَوْصَانِي بِشَيْءٍ أَوْ أَوْصَى لِي بِشَيْءٍ. If he really said something for me that belonged to me, وَاللَّهِ مَا تَرَكْتُ أَبَا بَكْرٍ وَعُمَرَ يَصْعَدَانِ عَلَى الْمِنْبَرِ. I would not let Abu Bakr or Umar get up on the minbar if he really said something to me. وَلَوْ قَاتَلْتُهُمَا وَحْدِي. I would have fought them by myself. But وَاللَّهِ مَا أَوْصَى. He never gave wasiyah to me. وَلَقَدْ أَمْضَى رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ أَيَّامًا قَبْلَ أَنْ يَمُوتَ يُوصِي أَبَا بَكْرٍ أَنْ يُصَلِّي بِالنَّاسِ. The only wasiyah I heard that he used to ask Abu Bakr to lead the prayers. He never asked me, never asked any of the companions. So that means that the wasiyah was to Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. And one time during the death of the Prophet ﷺ, Al-Abbas came and he asked Ali radiallahu anhu. He said, why don't you go and ask the Prophet ﷺ to give you the bay'ah, to give you the khilafah, to take, he said, the khilafah, he said, لِيَكُنِ الْأَمْرُ لَكَ مِنْ بَعْدِهِ. So whatever that, he will leave behind, it will be yours. And he told him, Ya Ammah, what about if I went there and I asked him and he said no? What do you think? What will happen? What do you think? Then Al-Abbas told him, then don't go in there. Don't ask him. And then Sayyidina Ali said, he said, Wallahi, I wouldn't even thought to go and ask him for any of that. I would like really to stop here because I know Salat al-Isha is at 10 o'clock, right? And the Adhan is like 9:40, something 9:45. 9:46. But I want to say, think one thing about the fitna. And I know that a lot of people don't like to talk about that, because it is really very painful. Very painful. But that will show you something, ya akhwan. Number one, that these companions, radiallahu anhum, they were humans, like us. And I'm going to give you an example that I gave you last time, if you remember, during the time of Surah Hudaybiyah. Rasulullah asked the companions, he said, go and cut your hair, go and slaughter your animal. What did they say? They said, no, we will not do that. Because there was no Umrah. So imagine the dispute happened when the Rasulullah was alive there. But the Rasulullah had to deal with that at the same time. And number two, ya akhwana, because nowadays people start talking about that. They're bringing these issues up about the fitna. Although a lot of ulama, they said, our swords were not indulged in such fights, and our swords were pure from their blood. So let's purify our tongues from them. But unfortunately, we are in a time that you have the media outlet everywhere, the things that you like to see and the things that you don't like to see. And people talk about, the fitna between Uthman radiallahu anhu and during Ali radiallahu anhu. And I've seen some movies now produced about al-fitnatul kubra, and how Sayyidina Umar took the khilafah from Sayyidina Ali and Uthman, and Sayyidina Ali had to fight them and have to low profile and be low key for his time to come, so he will shine again. And it's like you're talking about some gangs members in New York or in Chicago, or trying to attack one another and take over their territories and what have you. We're not talking about those companions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have praised so many times in the Quran, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam have praised so many times in his hadith. And he told us, who is Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, and who is Umar, and who is Uthman, and who is Ali radiallahu anhu, and the other companions. So definitely it is important to talk about that. Again, it is very painful. I mean, think when you talk about Uthman radiallahu anhu being killed, he was 82 years old, and these people thought that he is a kafir. Well, unfortunately nowadays we have heard and we've seen people saying the same thing and talking about some of the ulama. And they say, oh, this alim is kafir, this alim is fasiq, this alim is this and that. And killing some of the ulama and killing some of the scholars, with the reason of what? Oh, they are kuffar, they are not Muslims anymore. Who gave you the right to say this guy is kafir or not, or this is fasiq or not, or this is, deserve to be killed or not? How can you go around and talk to people about people like that? During the time of the Prophet ﷺ, he had the munafiqeen praying in his masjid, under his nose, right there with him. And Umar radiallahu anhu was telling him, Ya Rasulullah, you know the munafiqeen. فَلْنَضَعْ عَلَى رِقَابِهِمْ السَّيْفِ Let's kill them. We know them. Those are the traitors. Those are the people who are creating all these problems and fitna in Medina. And Rasulullah told us, and he told them, he said, وَمَا تَقُولُ الْعَرَبُ What the Arabs outside the Medina would say, they're not living in Medina, they are just hearing the news. What do they say? مُحَمَّدٌ يَقْتُلُ أَصْحَابَهُ Muhammad is killing his companions. That's all what they hear. Think about that. So that's the problem. And then you have to face that and deal with it. How do we deal with it? We try, not to indulge into these things, because we know that, how much we love Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, wa Umar, wa Uthman, wa Ali, and what they have done for the Ummah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But unfortunately, the fitna happens here and there. And even during the fitna, Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu was asked, and they used to curse, Sayyidina Muawiyah, wa Amr ibn al-As, and these companions. And he refused to do that. He refused to curse anyone. And he used to say, "Hum ikhwanuna baghaw alayna." They are our brothers, and they have oppressed us. That's it. And what we're trying to do, we're trying to correct them. That's all we're trying to do. We're trying to correct them in the good words, speaking publicly, talking to them, people, trying to bring, harmony, to bring unity among people, but not to the point that, that you call these people kafir and this is the fasiq. It is not our deal, ya akhwan. It's not our deal to say that. Yes, we know who would do the act of the kufr, yes, we know. So, but we are not in the point to come and, talk about, about that. And as I said, killing the companions, one another, and we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about why that happened. And that happened, nowadays you see it. If you go to this country and that country, this tribe is killing this tribe, and this tribe is killing that tribe, and these people from this town going and attacking the other, and they are Muslims. And they are Muslims. What do you need to do? فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَهُمْ. Try to fix the matters between them as much as you can. But then if there is atrocity, if there is a problem, you have to stand up and tell it as it is and try to fix it. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to prevent us to be indulged in any fitna, Ya Rabbil Alameen. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from any kind of trial, any kind of fitna that will really divide the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us, our children, our families, our masajid, our ulama, our scholars. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide our children and us, of course, to His right path, to as-sirat al-mustaqim. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us among those who listen, understand, obey, and act upon what they have learned from the Quran and the Sunnah. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to enlighten our hearts and guide our hearts to the best of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us and to use us for His deen, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for us not to die, but on the status of Islam. Ameen, ameen, Ya Rabbil Alameen. And by this, inshallah, we will talk about what happened during the time of Uthman and how Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu became the Khalifa and what was the situation at that time. And there is a group that came up at that time. They called themselves Al-Khawarij. Al-Khawarij, those who are the outsiders, or those who they left the Jama'ah and they created their own, and what they believed in and why they did what they did at that time and what they believe in and how they finished themselves and how they did all what they all that corruption that happened during that time. But subhanallah, we have, and I think it's important to study these things to know these matters and these problems. So inshallah, we don't even fall into these issues. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.